Alright, this was a big matchup for either Julius or Karl to get their revenge game, and out the gates, it was looking good for Julius because the Wolves set him up for success. If he wasn't bringing the rock up, then the others were just finding him, and he kept getting to his spots to get his, so he got into a rhythm quick. But even when he did draw multiple bodies, he was still spraying for the others to eat, and Jaden was the biggest beneficiary in the first. Even the others were getting clean looks by bringing Karl into the action to exploit his drop, but most of their offense was still being controlled by Julius, and that did more bad than good, because once he couldn't sustain his shot making, it all went downhill quick. He was running into turnovers whenever he got blitzed, and the others were either bricking or turning it over with him, so all those issues just started to compound in the second. They only converted on 1 out of 13 possessions in the first half of the quarter, and that was the game-losing stretch, because once they went ice cold, they just couldn't find their rhythm at all. I don't even think their looks changed, so some of it was just them missing, but Karl did make it harder by taking away the paint, because his inside presence didn't allow him to get anything easy inside, and that was the reason for a lot of those turnovers. They were just forced to slowly bleed out on jumpers, and the entire third was adding insult to injury at that point, because even if they got their offense going, it still wouldn't have been able to compensate for their defense somehow being even worse than that end. They just looked disconnected, because they never communicated on reds or flares, never had any low rotations, and were constantly having minor breakdowns, so they kept giving up easy cuts to the rim or open looks all over the court. That's without even mentioning them losing every 50-50 ball, but that's just in the half court, and it was even worse in transition, because all their bricks or turnovers kept generating the Knicks' constant pace on the night. It was either a run out, or them getting downhill because the Wolves could never get matched up, so they basically got whatever they wanted inside or outside, and the entire team got to establish a rhythm. That's even why they finished with a balanced offense, and that big contrast compared to the Wolves was crucial, because that wouldn't have happened if they just force-fed Karl early, but he got all of his within the flow. Outside of some bad passes on the doubles early, he wasn't forcing anything, and I don't understand how Rudy was never aware of him on the trail, because that's one of his most obvious tendencies, but he just kept getting trays or lays out of it, so those eventually turned into pulls over top. He's just too comfortable on that court to let him get going that way, and it still is crazy to see how drastic both teams' playstyles have changed since the trade, because they've basically gone from all defense to all offense. Just watch the tape.
Look at that shot from Towns.